Morning. Very nice to see you.
Great to see you.
That last trip I made to see you in Munich, we haven't done much travelling since then. It's extraordinary. Our business is very different, as I'm sure. It's been difficult, very difficult for you too, I'm sure.
I think the automotive industry has, of course, a big lockdown. You know, we lost almost 300,000 cars in due course. The worst thing, if your dealers are locked down, you cannot do anything. But that doesn't mean that people refrain from driving a car. People refrain from stepping into an airplane. They refrain from entering a taxi, but they're not refraining of driving a car by themselves. So that is quite a positive effect we see worldwide. So there is an inclination not to go into public transport, but kind of go into a cocooning effect into your own car. And that is, of course, a good sign for us. I think the automotive industry is the second biggest industry in the world. If you think about economy development, the automotive industry worldwide has to play a big role.
And very focused, presumably, on sustainability in the future. And fewer people are driving cars nowadays. I mean, how important is the whole sustainability issue for you?
Now, after half a year of coronavirus management, I would say this is an accelerator. Sustainability has to be at the heart of everything we do. I think we are on quite an adventure. We started on the electrification side in 2009 when we decided to build the i3. In our business, you have to be ready when the market is ready, especially if you build more than one vehicle. Like the i3, that there was one car, and now we are on the verge. In our second phase, we will build 12 cars. And in the third phase, the majority of the vehicle will be electrified. So you have to look that in a 20 years time frame. And at Rolls-Royce, just speaking about electrification, we will have the first fully electric Rolls-Royce. Talking about Mini, we just announced a year ago that we go into a joint venture with Great Wall in China to build the brand even more global than it is today.
I've got an electric Mini here at the moment on the estate, Oliver, which I'm enjoying a lot.
Congratulations.
Super quick. It's really good fun.
To drive, you know. But this is Charles. This is how long it takes. When I was in Oxford in 2007 and 8, in end of 2007, we built the first electric Mini as a prototype. And now, 13 years later, the car actually hits the marketplace. You know, this is how long it takes sometimes in our industry to make from a great idea to make a profitable business out of it. And we are quite proud that Mini is now electric too.
The production values that you have and everything else, can people operate quicker and make that difficult for you or not?
If you're in the startup world, you think you can do quicker. If you grow into volume, there are specific rules in this industry. You know, until you have a sales system which provides, like us, more than 160 countries. And if you want to be a global player, you have to have a good sales team around it. You cannot invent that inside of 2 or 3 years. And in the long run, I think we're not slow at all. You know, you have to be there at the right time. And we will see what is happening in the next couple of years about market shares, about market development, about what do customers do with used cars and so on. And we built the iNext next year. I think at that point in time, we'll be quite a bit ahead of whatever you call assisted driving. I'm not even talking about autonomous driving. That will take much more time. That will be a big step ahead. And also how a battery electric vehicle drives in combination with BMW dynamic genes. I think that's a big part of our DNA, and the world will see that there is an electric BMW like no other car. So I think we're not too late. We hit the market right when the market is ready.
So the future of BMW, what's the long-term future? Is it?
I think what is specific, what has developed in the last 10 years at BMW is this thing, as I mentioned, was power of choice. So currently we offer in most of our vehicles 4 different drivetrains. We have auto, we have diesel, we have plug-in hybrids, and we now coming up we have the battery-only vehicles. And I think if you want to grow, to depend only on one drivetrain is a dangerous thing, because these things change, they adapt over time in specific markets.
In an electric world, where does M Sport fit in?
It's a profitable business for us. But of course, it's still a niche. It's not the mainstream. On the other hand, it goes right into the heart of what BMW is, the ultimate driving machine, dynamic car driving. And we will transform that now into much more sustainability vehicle dynamics section of our business. So you will see in the future, you will also see a lot more electrification in the cars. We can electrify combustion engines, which reduces the emissions. You will see plug-in hybrids, we call them power hybrids. And of course, that is what we're still working on. There might be a possibility to have electric only, but there's no decision made yet so far. But overall, the M division will, of course, always stay at the heart of BMW, but in a much more sustainability fashion than we know today.
I'm sure it'll be a huge success. And Oliver, thank you very much.
It's a great pleasure.
Thanks very much for joining us and for doing this little chat.
Hi, Oliver. Hi, yes, I can hear you.
Ah, perfect. Good to see you.
We've got so many great memories of Audis at Goodwood, too many for me to even think of now. But one I've got to tell you about, which was my moment of awakening in an Audi Quattro, which was when Stig said he'd like to drive me up the Goodwood Hill. This was some years ago, and I thought not much of it. This would be fine. And I jumped in the passenger seat with him, and he drove up, and I tell you, it completely changed my whole way of thinking about how people drive, the idea of what car control means. It was unbelievable, and the way he treated the car and the strength of the car and everything was just full power and full on the brakes at every corner, just absolutely stepping on the brakes. It was just an absolute awakening. A moment of what it means to be a really, really world-class driver in a car that you're absolutely on top of. And of course, it's 40 years since the first Audi Quattro. We've all loved our Quattros over the years, and we're very excited to be celebrating that at SpeedWeek.
First of all, I love Quattro. Quattro is part of our DNA, is part of the Audi DNA. Audi is Quattro and Quattro is Audi. For us, this is an absolute key technology with which we prove Vorsprung durch Technik.
From your enthusiasm talking about it, Oliver, and also your huge connections with Audi Sport, would you say you have a personal passion for motorsport?
I love motorsport since I was a child, and watching the rally sport, watching Walter Röhrl, and in the following years watching Le Mans and with Tom Christensen. Last year we launched our GT2 in Goodwood together with Tom, and to become responsibility for motorsport for me was or is a dream. And motorsport is very, very important for us and also for me.
How important is a successful racing division to an engineering-led company like Audi?
A diverse commitment to motorsport is an integral part of Audi's DNA and strategy.
And is that a continuing strategy? Is that something you're going to continue with? Is that something for the future?
We have to. So looking back, Audi has been successfully active in various motorsport categories for 40 years. So this is our history. Using motorsport as a test lab for production technologies, the aim remains to continue to demonstrate the brand promise of Vorsprung durch Technik, and that in top international motorsport. Quattro is rallying, TFSI, TDI, and the hybrid in Le Mans, the e-tron in Formula E. These were just some examples where a close connection of the motorsport department to the technical development department enabled technology transfer to the production cars.
We're very delighted to have Audi involved with SpeedWeek, and thanks so much for taking part in this. It's been really, really nice having you with us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, and take care. Take care.
Good luck with everything you're doing.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye. How are you doing, Jim?
Good. Just very busy. The demand is so strong right now for automobiles. We are plumb out of stock. We cannot make the vehicles fast enough, and we have very high absenteeism in our plants. Some of our plants are running at 20% of the people not showing up every morning. So a lot of operational disruption. supplier issues. Yeah, but anyways, high class problems when you have high demand.
Sounds hard. It sounds pretty hardcore, I got to say. So, what are your thoughts on the pandemic? And I mean, has it had a huge impact both on Ford and the industry? I mean, how's it changing things for the future, do you think?
Fundamentally. I mean, I don't think most of our knowledge workers will ever go back to work permanently. I think most people will come into the office maybe once or twice a week.
Your own history at Ford's an amazing one. Obviously, you've had a fantastic career and huge success. But last time we spoke, you told me that your grandfather had worked on the shop floor. That's an amazing story. You must feel that must really kind of, you know, mean something very, very powerful to you.
It does. It's the reason why I came to Ford. My grandfather was the 389th employee at Ford.
Oh.
He carried his lunchbox into Highland Park in 1916 for the first time. He was just 15 years old. He had absolutely nothing. And all of our education, all of our family, everything we have is due to Ford and his job. He worked at the Rouge plant, which was the first integrated manufacturing plant in the foundry, lost a couple fingers. Became a dealer then after he retired and a supplier for Ford. So our whole family's education was paid for through Ford. And he was a very simple man. And he was one of my closest friends. We restored a 1932 Packard for my grandmother when he was 70 together. And it was one of my cherished projects I did. And I think about him every day because he was so humble.
Well, he'd be very proud, I'm sure. It's that's a really brilliant thing. And your passion for motorsport, Jim. Obviously we all feel very connected through that. And obviously you're the proud owner of a GT40, which I'm extremely jealous of. And of course, all the testing for the original GT40s was done here at Goodwood in the 60s. So, you know, special connection. Another exciting thing to talk about today is the Mach 1. And what that means to you and what it means to Ford. We're pretty excited about it. We're very excited to have it coming to SpeedWeek and for it to have its European launch. But tell me a bit about it, Jim.
Well, you know, that there's a kind of bigger story behind the Mach 1. Obviously, it was kind of an iconic version of the Mustang in the U.S. when we went to a big block engine. So it was the Mach 1 was the first Mustang we ever made, you know, in high numbers for average people for, you know, a 7-liter engine. The Mach 1 has a really special connection for us to Mustang, and actually, in a way, globalizing it and bringing it to the UK has a connection back to the GT40 and back to Le Mans, believe it or not.
Yeah, really interesting. And then, of course, you touched on the Mach-E there as well. And is that a whole new way forward for Ford? Are you excited about that?
Yeah, you know, when we have design reviews at Ford, just because we're Ford, there are certain vehicles that you can hear a pin drop, and that often we will raise our voices with each other. Vehicles like Bronco and Mustang, you can only imagine when we came up with the idea of let's make an electric vehicle of Mustang version, what happened in that design studio. It was really emotionally charged. And we had lots of meetings with Bill Ford. Ours is a family company, and Bill's the biggest Mustang fanatic you'll meet. And he said, "Well, can't be called a Mustang unless it smells like a Mustang, sounds like a Mustang, and goes like a Mustang." And so we had to make a lot of changes to make Mach-E a true performance vehicle, and we're there. What's exciting to me as an old school car guy is that we're embracing our iconic models and the future at the same time. We're not getting them mixed up. We're not living in the past. We're living in the future. And I think this is a kind of paradox when you're working in a wonderful company like Ford, you have to solve for. I think we got it right on the Mach-E.
Everyone's been brilliant. Your team have been fantastic, and we'll see you soon.
Good.
All
Cheers.
Yeah.
Bye.
Hello to England. Good afternoon.
Thanks a lot for taking part in this. Are there particular challenges and opportunities, do you think, with electrification and digitalization? I mean, them offer you great opportunities and also some big challenges. What What are they in particular for you?
First of all, we always think in opportunities at Porsche. And we are creating new business models coming from electromobility and digitalization, and new services and new things of driver experience. And we think that electromobility fits perfectly to our brand because of the possibilities of acceleration, of driving dynamics, what we already have shown with the Taycan. And I think that's very important, that we will stay to our roots and will combine tradition and future technologies. We also think about e-fuels, for example, for all our combustion engines to drive them CO2. And in this combination, electromobility and e-fuels, we think we are preparing our future product strategy on a very sustainable way.
At the beginning, we had electric, steam, internal combustion. They were all viable options. What do you think the platform of the future is most likely to be?
There's a very clear direction to go to e-mobility. But I think especially for the transition period, Porsche is flexible. We will continue with optimized combustion engines. We have plug-in hybrids, very powerful, like we use in the Panamera and the Cayenne, with even more range in future. And then we have as a third pillar the electromobility. And in this mix, we feel very comfortable, very, very flexible, depending on the different speed, like the regions of the world will develop. And our very ambitious plan is that we will have in 2025 around about 50% pure electromobility. And in our model range, always combined with all the traditional, for example, 911s with combustion engines. So we think that we will offer a very cool car for every kind of customer and all the Porsche fans.
And the future of Porsche long term, how do you see that? Is it still going to be the greatest sports car? Is Porsche going to retain its
we will stay
driving and everything, which is such a big part of it?
We stay to our roots. That's very clear. A brand like Porsche with this tradition, we always will build sports cars, and a Porsche will ever have a steering wheel, because a Porsche always will be a car which will be driven by the driver himself. There are some very good applications talking about autonomous driving, like parking applications, or when you're in a traffic jam, you could be driven. Or there are other options. For example, they are very helpful to go on a racetrack and drive as an application by our race drivers, and who show you how to where to accelerate, where to brake, how to find the ideal line or the perfect line to cross the racetrack. And there are a lot of applications, but mainly thinking of our cars, they will be driver cars in future, or we are driving our cars with e-fuels, synthetic fuels on the combustion side, or the very dynamic ones on the electrification, where we still have a lot of potential.
It's 50 years of Porsche's great first win at Le Mans. Obviously, SpeedWeek this coming weekend. We're huge Porsche fans. We've got lots of Porsches coming. Some of the greatest winning racing cars from Porsche will be here. How important is that heritage? How important has that heritage been to you for Porsche as a brand, do you think?
Motorsport is so important for our brand. It's a core issue. And because what we do on innovations, we develop innovations on the racetrack. Formula E also reflects our product strategy. In future, there are a lot of ideas talking, for example, about the WEC or the races in Le Mans. There are activities being discussed in between IMSA and WEC to think about a common project where you can win the races in IMSA and WEC with one concept. And that might be a very interesting project for Porsche as well. So motorsport is still very, very important for our brand.
Well, you've got such an incredible history in the sport, and it's such a wonderful heritage. Oliver, thank you very, very much indeed. It's been really nice seeing you. Thanks for your time, and much look forward to welcoming you. I hope to Goodwood again very soon.
Yeah, thank you very much for our talk. I wish you a lot of success with your event, and I will do a pre-booking for the next year's event when it will be able to come.
We expect you back.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Very nice to see you.
Goodbye.